The distance it takes for me to forget a number between 1 and 10. It's like 10 to 15 centimeters is really enough. And it gets so much worse when someone decides to talk to you while you're trying to count. And if you're anything like me, you'll be like, oh no, I'm sure I can just like keep counting and like answer them and actually listen to them. Well, I can't. I know I can't. So you just kind of have to gauge if it looks like enough or if it looks like too much. You know, I guess that's what I do at least. Hello BabyQueers and welcome back to my channel. We're doing neurodivergent memes again. I wanted to collect them and all I had to do was go through all the pictures I had saved on my phone because I keep forgetting I saved memes but forgot to put them in folders. You know? So that's what we're doing today. But you know the deal, before we continue, y'all gotta get hydrated. Grab some water, or some tea, or whatever else you like to drink, and then we'll continue. Are you hydrated? Good. Let's go. People with a tinnitus, people with autism, people with ADHD, dogs. The world is filled with high-pitched sounds nobody else can hear. Apparently, it sounds fake. It sounds really fake, because it's not even that our ears are actually better, you know, than most people's. It's just that their brains tend to just tune it out, because if you get them to focus on the noise, maybe they can still hear it, but they can't hear it normally. And it seems so wild to me, because there is constantly noises and sounds that people don't seem to notice. That's kind of annoying. Like, I think even dogs are more used to it than we are. And dogs actually have better ears. Like, they can hear things we can't, but it kind of feels like they're better at handling it. Brain fog forces you to substitute words. This bird looks like it's a vibrating midget bird. Because who came up with hummingbird? It's not humming. The sound it makes, I guess I can see where you got humming from, but it doesn't actually sound like humming. But it is very tiny, and it's kind of vibrating. And I'm still so confused how someone can fly in one place, but if you're a vibrating midget bird, you can. My brain. Hey, let's find an app for that, I'm sure it'll be so much easier. My home screen 5 minutes later, because you gotta download all the apps to see which one actually works. And then you either get overwhelmed because there's too many choices, or you download too many because you're like, well, I'm just gonna try out a few. And then you try them out and then none of them seem right, and then you just don't do the thing at all, or you just go back to doing it on paper or something. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's really just me, but I kind of have a feeling that if your home screen looks like this, you're not actually getting anything else done either, because you're just busy trying to look for the right app, and then you find no apps anymore because they're everywhere. And again, if you're anything like me, I hate having apps on my home screen. Everything is always packed away in folders. But then if I download a couple apps, because like, well, I want to try finding a meditation app. Worst idea I ever had, because a lot of them you just have to pay to use anyway, so you just like delete them again instantly, and then you either don't use it or you just use it for like 2 days and then you just get so incredibly bored with it that you just delete it anyways. But it's gonna have to move into a folder eventually. Put some food in the oven. Forget about it for an hour and then rush to take it out. I forgot to turn the oven on. I mean, good for you. Like, you're probably still incredibly hungry, and now you're gonna have to wait until the food is actually done. But at least you didn't burn it, because then you would be super annoyed that you burnt the food, and then simultaneously still be hungry, which just makes it worse. So I'm kind of glad you forgot to turn the oven on and not forgot the food in the oven while it was on. You know, I feel like this is actually preferable. Be bored because there's nothing to do. Be overwhelmed because there's too much to do. People with ADHD. I this both of these seem really bad. Honestly, I don't know what I would pick. I feel like if it was work related, I would pick the first, because the second one is just kind of the truth of like what actually happens. It's just like there's constantly just like so much to do, and then it kind of just becomes really difficult to deal with, and especially if that's every day, that's just, So I think at work I would actually prefer being bored, because there's nothing to do, because then I could just like still, I don't know, even if I just scroll on my phone, I feel like it'd be preferable. But I think in my, like, at home, in private, I don't know if doing nothing would actually be better, because I feel like if you actually just have time and you don't need to do anything, but you want to do something, because those are like the worst moments, because then you're like, well, I could do all these fun things. I could continue reading my book, I could watch fun YouTube videos, I could watch a movie, I could catch up on a series I usually love watching, I could go work out, but then suddenly nothing feels right, and you could do things, you don't have to do things, but you're still not doing anything. And I feel like that's maybe worse than being overwhelmed because there's too much to do, but I'm really not sure, because both of these are just awful. I've come up with a better metaphor for you can't pour from an empty cup for burnout. You can't boil an empty kettle. Pouring from an empty cup just gets you nowhere. Trying to boil an empty kettle can ruin the kettle, the stove, and burn your house down if you keep trying it. Which actually seems way more accurate, because pouring from an empty cup, yeah, you're not actually pouring anything. But it still kind of implies that there are no actual consequences. It just means that you can't do anything productive anymore. But trying to boil an empty kettle just seems way more accurate, because, yeah, if you keep trying to push through it and pull yourself together and just keep trying to do things and be productive, then, yeah, you're gonna ruin your health more and your mental health more, and that seems way more accurate, and metaphorically burns your life and your house down. So actually, your house in this case, just your body probably, but your house is gonna represent it as well. And while it doesn't actually burn down, if you're, once again, anything like me, as soon as you get stressed, you tend to just be more clumsy. Like, if I'm super stressed and like I'm heading towards burnout, I just become so much more clumsy. I lose my sense of balance a lot. I keep stumbling into things. I keep almost, or I like actually accidentally cutting myself if I try to like cut food. I burnt my hand on the oven. Things like that. I break things more, like accidentally dropping glasses and stuff. Literally, I'm not saying I'm never clumsy and things like that would never happen when I'm like in a mentally good place and not like anywhere near burnout, but it never really happens, or only like very rarely. But if I'm heading close to burnout, that will happen a lot more, so this metaphor just seems accurate. This notebook, it's perfect. It's so shiny and soft. It's too perfect to use. I'll have to get a new one. How big is your pile of unused notebooks? It's either smart or really not smart, because I don't have them all in one place, so I can't tell you how big the pile is, because I have some in a drawer over there, and then I can literally see one that has maybe like 2 pages written over there. I have 1 or 2 here, another one over there, and some are in the living room in a shelf, so I cannot tell you how many I have. But this is the exact struggle, but also because they're never the right size, right? They're never the right size. It's like, okay, this would maybe be good for like taking little notes, like kind of having like a really small one, like phone size. Would kind of be good for just like writing quick lists of, like I need to remember to get these things when I'm at the store later, whatever. Or I need to look if I find these in an online shop somewhere. fine. Also way easier to lose that, so that's kind of the downside there, but you know. And then sometimes if you just like, I want to document whatever, or I want to journal, and then somehow like it's never right. And you have like 100 at home and none of them fit, and that's why I just started using my iPad instead of actual notepads. So now I have 100 notepads that I don't use and just use my iPad. But struggle because this app I'm using has like a lot of free templates that you can use, but it also has a lot of paid templates, which might actually be more practical, but so far I've just refused to buy them because I'm like, no, I'm sure this works if I just use the other ones, right? So far it's worked. Might not always, actually. Consider ADHD immortal people. What was it, like 400 years ago? Hell if I know, I don't even remember what it was like last week. Yeah, catch me procrastinating basic tasks for 20 times longer. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to get around to fixing that window, but I've just been so busy, you know. You've lived here since 1740. Yeah, walking through a museum and seeing some old things of yours and just going, God damn it, I've been looking for this forever, and then trying to haggle with the curator to get your stuff back. Thinking about immortality and how meticulously you'd have to keep track of all your stuff so some nosy historian doesn't spot your old journal or code or copy of a book and call it infuriating time-based finders keepers? It's 200 years old, they say. It's essentially public property, they say. It's a letter you sent to your friend and it's in a museum now and you're screaming. Just trying not to get caught would probably be the worst thing ever. Because you'd have to keep track how long you stay in one place, right? And then you'd have to move, but then while moving you're gonna lose more things, so you don't want to do it too often, because what if you lose something that you might need but you never find it again because you moved and now it's gone forever, because you know your old apartment or house was empty, you put everything in boxes, but it just never turns up in the new place? This happens too much. So imagine having to do that over and over because you're immortal, you don't age, and people will start to notice eventually, right? So what are you gonna do about that? It would be such a pain in the ass. Like, I feel like it's hard to keep track of anyways for anyone, but imagine having ADHD and having to deal with that. It'd just be so frustrating. It'd just be so frustrating, oh my god. Autistic brains and hearing be weird, because I got a loud shower on and the heaters, and I can still hear the guy talking outside across the street at a reasonable volume. Conversely, sometimes I can be in a coffee shop 2 feet away from someone and miss every fourth word because people at the register are too loud. Yeah, I couldn't read this text box for a full minute because my coworker was shaking his salad. Why though? I mean, I know why, because we have, like, processing issues, right? Like, we can hear everything fine. We can hear you talking. That doesn't mean we can actually understand and, like, process the words you're saying. But it's kind of this, because it's like, people think you're just, like, not hard of hearing, but people think you struggle with your hearing and tell you to get a hearing test because they think you might actually be hard of hearing, because you just keep going, huh? Wait, what did you say? And just like keep leaning in on instinct, like leaning in and getting closer to the person talking doesn't actually help, because it doesn't eliminate everything else, right? Just because you lean in a few centimeters closer isn't gonna make the people chatting 2 tables over any quieter, but we still do it by instinct, and that's why they just think we need to get a hearing test and we need to get it checked out. Because how many of us had, as a kid, several hearing tests because the teachers kept complaining, or, you know, your parents were just complaining that you're not hearing well and dragged you to the doctor to get a hearing test done, but your hearing is fine. It's maybe not better than the average hearing, but your hearing's totally fine, right? But yeah, it makes so much sense, but it really doesn't. A fun thing about me, ADHD and autistic, is that I'm going to dread every single thing other than alone time before I do it. Dance class that I love and always makes me feel better? Dread. Hanging with a friend that I have a good time with? Dread. I had to literally keep a note in my phone reminding me of how I feel during and after these things, and essentially just ignore the dread feeling and go based on data. It works well enough, but man, I do wish my feelings would catch up a bit. So much. And it doesn't make sense to other people. Just like, constantly kind of wishing your friends cancel, even though you know you're gonna have fun once you get there. Like, I'm currently doing this. We're throwing a Halloween party at our apartment this year. Like, usually we do it at a friend's place, but even then I had it a little bit. Like, I know I'm gonna have fun. I know I'm gonna enjoy myself. Why do I dread going? This year is worse because people are gonna come to our house and we need to decorate everything. And yeah, while it is kind of more to do than I usually have to do, right? Because we have to decorate and make sure everything is like a different level of clean at least, because there's also gonna be some people that I don't know that well, you know, so you kind of want to make a good impression. Why am I dreading it? I know it's gonna be fun. I know I'm gonna enjoy decorating. I know I'm gonna think it's super cute and we're gonna enjoy it, but why? Again, it doesn't make sense, really. But I think we're all just maybe a bit traumatized from going through too many unpleasant experiences, especially where people kind of ostracized us, that now we're just dreading every single thing. Even though we technically know it's going to be fun and we know we're going to enjoy it, we still dread it because our brain can't tell apart where something might happen. So even if you know something is going to be fun, your brain doesn't necessarily let you feel it, and it's fair that you keep notes of it. Actually, because I do the same thing, because I get super anxious about doing new things at the gym. Because what if someone looks at me weird? I'm literally at the gym to work out. That's all they're doing. They're going there to work out too. I'm just there to work out. You know, why would anyone judge me? And then you go there and you kind of force yourself to do the new exercise or whatever. And then you have to still keep track of how no one looked at you weird or how it felt okay, you know? And then maybe at some point your brain will actually catch up. Where did I put the thing? I put it down carelessly. I forgot where. I put it in a special place, but I also forgot where. I'm just bringing this back because it's just accurate to everything, everyday life. It doesn't actually get better if you're like trying to save a document on your like computer or something. You saved it in a special folder, but now you don't know where it is anymore, and you're gonna spend 5 hours looking for it because you also forgot what you named the document, because it made sense in the moment, right? That's kind of the thing. I know I put it somewhere that made sense, but now I can't figure out what makes sense anymore, so now I don't know where the thing is anymore, you know? On a constant basis. Anxiety is living in the future and depression is living in the past. So I'm basically a time traveler. Cool. Normally I would agree that being a time traveler is kind of cool, but not if this is how you time travel, really. This seems less cool. I'm sorry, but you know, it does. Not getting anything done because I'm too overwhelmed. Being too overwhelmed because I haven't gotten anything done. Great, because again, it doesn't make sense. Logically, you know that if you just started doing something, anything of the hundreds of things you need to get done, that you would gain momentum and that you could just like get the things done and then be less overwhelmed because things have gotten done. But then you're just paralyzed instead because what do I do first? What is most important? And then you keep going back and forth in it, and even if you try to break out of it, your brain doesn't really let you, and it doesn't make sense to people. And then they give you helpful hints like, oh, just start on something. Great. Why didn't I think of that? A neurotypical person coming up to you. What you did was wrong. Okay, please tell me what I did wrong so I can better myself. Just tell us. If you're like, hey, you did that wrong, or what you did was a shitty thing to do. Okay, why? Like, for you, it's more effort, you know, kind of explaining it in like a 1 or 2 minutes, what the other person did wrong or why it was wrong. But just kind of going around and expecting that the other person will get it is, in the long run, probably wasting your time, because I'm probably going to do it again because they don't understand what they did wrong. Right? Like, if we know why something is the way it is, or why something is supposed to be done a certain way, or why something we said may have been hurtful to people, then we can work on it and we can, like, focus to maybe phrase it differently, because chances are it was just a misunderstanding and what we said was just very direct and the other person just took it really wrong, even though we just, like, we didn't mean it to be hurtful, you know. But just dancing around the topic doesn't help. Just, if you're like, hey, what you said the other day was really hurtful because XYZ, then we're gonna actually be able to understand. You know, just saying, oh, you did that wrong is just so unhelpful, because how are we supposed to learn anything from that? Me, I'm going to need to leave early today. Boss, is there a reason why? Me, I've spent enough time with people, I need my dog. Or bed, or any other pet, or your sofa. You know, not really a nerd about meme, but I feel like it just seems fair. It's just like, no, too many people. I've had it with people. No more people. I need to go home. Because that's kind of me on the daily if I have to go to the office or somewhere. Autistics walk into a social event. Too many people, it's against the rules. Well, you know, if we made the rules, then they make sense to us, right? If other people made the rules, again, they're probably not going to make sense to us. But if we made the rules to keep ourselves safe, it kind of makes sense. And malls are kind of an especially hellish place, really. Because it's not just the people in that case, but going into any social event might also be. I'm not looking forward to it. I am not going to the Christmas party from work. I didn't go last year either. And people last year were already also like bugging me. Like, oh, but why aren't you coming? It's gonna be so fun and we can dance and there's gonna be food and alcohol. And they're just like talking about it like it's supposed to make me excited, but it just makes me hate it more. And that's one of the things. I don't just dread it because I'm just dreading it and I know I'm gonna enjoy it. I know I'm not gonna enjoy it. Because it's gonna be way too loud, way too full of people. Everyone's gonna be super drunk and being way too close to me and just touching me and like by pressing past me, not inappropriately, you know, but like just that's gonna be awful. So that is against the rules because I refuse to make myself more uncomfortable than I necessarily have to, you know. My ability to remember song lyrics from the 80s far exceeds my ability to remember why I walked into the kitchen. Again, I don't decide what my brain remembers, okay? Song lyrics usually works kinda well. Random things people said that are super unimportant that you just kind of like heard in passing because someone was walking past you while they're on the phone. Super unimportant, but that's what my brain remembers. Remembering why I walked into somewhere or what I was gonna do? Yeah, not so much. Your brain is supposed to release a motivating chemical called dopamine. ADHD people after they complete a task. Psst, 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 psst. Come here, dopamine. Listen, if this would work, it'd be great. Like, it'd be great if the dopamine just like showed up like it's supposed to, right? That would be cool. Alternatively though, if this would work, this would also be kind of impractical, but it would be okay. Because we could still like lure the dopamine in most of the time, you know, but unfortunately, it doesn't really work. Which is such a scam, really, but you know. This task is way too difficult to get started. Have you tried actually doing it? Nope. I just know it's gonna be rough. Actually, it does the task. Oh, wow. Never mind, that was easy. This is so true. You push something off for so long because you're just dreading it. And you can't even like really necessarily, like sometimes you can think about it and technically know it's gonna be easy, sometimes you really just don't know everything it's gonna entail, so you're just dreading it more because you don't know how long this will take, you don't know how much effort it'll be. And then at some point you kind of manage to actually just do the thing and it's literally just done in 10 minutes and you're just like, oh well. But you don't learn from it. And you don't do it. Or like just do it the next time because you're just gonna dread it again. And I'm saying you, even though I literally just mean myself as well, because same, because then sometimes tasks don't do this. Sometimes they just escalate and you end up kind of basically pushing this gigantic rock up a hill, you know, and always almost being crushed by it the entire time. So you never know beforehand which it's gonna be. So of course you're gonna dread it, right? Even though this one is more likely, you know, that's actually just gonna be easier than you're dreading it to be, but still, this is just calling me out, and it's actually entirely fair. They're called ADHD dinos for a reason. Anyways, I'm gonna end it here because I feel sufficiently called out for one day. I hope you do too, and I hope you're hydrated. If not, maybe go drink something now. And I'll be back in a few days to remind you again.